nothing unique or special about Bitcoin other than the fact, yes, there's a lot of people who believe in it now and who have built up all this computing power and this huge network around Bitcoin. But my belief is the main reason that all of this capital has been wasted and misdirected into Bitcoin is based on the belief that the price is always going to go up. And that's the whole basis of the MicroStrategy strategy of continuously buying higher and higher cost Bitcoin with more and more borrowed money, because it's never going to come down. Because if Bitcoin goes down, MicroStrategy is bankrupt. But no one cares because Bitcoin can only go up. I mean, we finally invented an asset that has no downside risk and can only go up, right? I mean, where have I heard something crazy like that? Yeah, I get a kick out of like some of the crypto people trying to make something out of the fact that I say, oh, I regret not buying Bitcoin, as if I've changed my opinion. I mean, obviously, when I first learned about it, and I don't remember exactly what the price was. I forget if it was above or below $1. I mean, I really can't say, but it was around $1 when I learned about it. And I had money. It wasn't like I was poor back then. I had money. So I could have put 10 grand, 100 grand, you know, I could have put something into it and I'd be a multi-billionaire today, assuming I hadn't sold it. But, you know, I don't know what I would have done had I bought it back then, how much I would still have. I mean, I have no idea. So it's hard to say, but clearly, you know, I should have taken a chance on it and I didn't do it. But that doesn't mean that I believe in it. I mean, just like I have underestimated how big the bubble can grow with US debt, right? How much money the world would lend us before we had a debt crisis. I overestimated, I guess, the intelligence of individuals, you know, and now companies with respect to understanding Bitcoin. And, you know, I had no idea that the bubble could get this big. I think what's really happened recently, you had two things. You had the introduction of the ETFs and Wall Street coming in and buying up Bitcoin. That pushed up the price. I mean, obviously, nobody is buying Bitcoin in an ETF because they want to use it for anything. No, they're not using it as a currency. They're just gambling on appreciation. And I think that kind of started to wear off. And then, of course, you have MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor single-handedly. I think he's bought in the last month 11.5 billion more of Bitcoin, a lot of it with borrowed money, but the rest of the money he raises just by, you know, selling shares of stock. So he's just been this crazed buyer that not only has pushed up the price, but has caused a lot of other people to buy it, to front run his buying, to try to, you know, make money off of the buying. And now you have, you know, Senator Loomis introduced this ridiculous bill to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, which there's nothing strategic about Bitcoin, and we certainly don't need to have a reserve of it. But I think that the potential for this, and you had all these guys down at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, RFK Jr. and Trump, you know, paying homage to the Bitcoin crowd, really pandering to that community, promising them this Bitcoin reserve, which is really a payback for their donations and their support. But I think that the prospect of the US government buying, you know, 1 million Bitcoin, regardless of the price, just buying every single month and never selling. You know, the Loomis bill says you can't sell that Bitcoin for 20 years. I mean, what kind of reserve is it if you can't use it? But, but, you know, with all this stuff happening, I mean, that's really what's pushed up the price of Bitcoin. But I still think it's a bubble. I still think it's not digital gold. I mean, Powell got that wrong today. He was asked about Bitcoin, and he said he doesn't see it as a competition to the dollar. He doesn't see it as a currency. He said it's just like gold, you know, which it's nothing like gold. So he doesn't understand gold either. That's another thing Powell doesn't get. But I do think it's going to collapse. Yes, a lot of people made money on Bitcoin. A lot of my neighbors have made a ton of money on Bitcoin here in Puerto Rico. You probably know some of them, and they always like to tease me about the fact that I didn't get off.
I know Dan Moorhead, so, you know, not to be self-promotion, but, you know, Dan, I wrote this book. Dan came to the book party last night here in New York.
Yeah, he's here.
You know, I guess I would say something to you that I would ask you to consider and get you to respond to. And I guess, you know, and there are people out there who say that there's more uses for gold than just jewelry, and there's some industrial uses, and I accept all of that. But is there a database? A bank is a database. A bank is a spreadsheet. It's a regulated spreadsheet. You have your assets on that spreadsheet. I have my assets on a spreadsheet. I move assets to you. There's a spreadsheet. is there a case to be made that this is an impregnable, fully distributed, fully decentralized spreadsheet, and that there's value in that network? And as tens of millions, if not now hundreds of millions of people are on that network, that there's value in that network. And so, yeah, that would be the Robert Metcalfe explanation of the network effect, where you say there's no value in that network. So Bitcoin's value is zero. Or,
well, look, they like to compare Bitcoin to the internet, right? And the beginning of the internet. Well, Bitcoin came around in 2009, 2010. So, it's, what is it? 15 years it's been around. And, I know in the first 14 or 15 years of the internet, I noticed a very big difference in my daily life. I went from never using the internet to constantly using the internet. In fact, today I can't even be without the internet. I mean, everybody, I'm on my smartphone all the time. The internet is probably the most important thing in my life, as far as something that I use, something that adds value to what I do. In contrast, Bitcoin has been around for those 15 years and it hasn't changed a thing. I mean, other than the fact that some people have gotten rich because they bought it a long time ago, and other than the fact that if I turn on CNBC, all I see is Bitcoin commercials and people talking about Bitcoin. As far as in the real world, it's done nothing. It's changed nothing. Blockchain has changed nothing. Crypto, nothing has changed because of Bitcoin. So, you have a cult, you have all these conferences and people go and talk about it. I was just over the weekend, I was in St. Bart for Thanksgiving. I'd come on the plane to come back, a little prop plane, and the pilot sees me, says, "Oh, when you going to buy Bitcoin?" The guy's mining Bitcoin in his spare time. He's flying this plane for a living. He lives here in Puerto Rico. But I mean, apart from people trying to make money off of Bitcoin, it hasn't done anything. So I don't see the value. Michael Saylor, I see his interview as, it's the only asset in the history of the world that has limited supply. No, I mean, has he not noticed that there are hundreds, thousands of other cryptocurrencies? Many of them have supply caps exactly like Bitcoin. I mean, and there's an unlimited number of cryptos that somebody can create. You can create one, I can create one, and we can limit the supply to whatever we want. So the key is not limiting the supply. The key is the utility of the asset that you're limiting the supply of. Gold is the most useful metal in the world. So, there are more uses for gold than any other metal we have. It has properties that are very unique to gold and that are very special and that are very valuable to mankind because of the things that we can do with gold. But there's nothing unique or special about Bitcoin other than the fact, yes, there's a lot of people who believe in it now and who have built up all this computing power and this huge network around Bitcoin. But my belief is the main reason that all of this capital has been wasted and misdirected into Bitcoin is based on the belief that the price is always going to go up. And that's the whole basis of the MicroStrategy strategy of continuously buying higher and higher cost Bitcoin with more and more borrowed money, because it's never going to come down. Because if Bitcoin goes down, MicroStrategy is bankrupt. But, no one cares because Bitcoin can only go up. I mean, we finally invented an asset that has no downside risk and can only go up, right? I mean, where have I heard something crazy like that? So I don't see the real value there. I don't, I make payments all the time, very quickly. With my credit cards, I've used Zelle, I use PayPal, I use Venmo. We have all kinds of ways that I can send money instantly anywhere I want, very quickly, costs nothing. I don't see where I need Bitcoin to do any of that. Nobody uses Bitcoin for that. So I don't see what value it actually brings. I mean, it's a sexy story that everybody tells to try to justify the price and getting people to buy it. But in fact, they've already admitted that it's not good as a medium of exchange. Nobody even pretends that anymore.